Thanks, Abby. Good morning, members, and welcome to this meeting of the Joint Pension Subcommittee. This meeting is being live streamed and will be made available on the Council website for public viewing. Could I remind members to follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off their video when you're not addressing the meeting. Should you wish to contribute to any item, you should write speak in the Teams chat function and you will be invited to speak in order about new issues. Should your question or issue be raised by a previous speaker, please withdraw your request so that we deal with the business as efficiently as possible. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has to leave the meeting for any reason, can I remind you to either leave the Teams meeting for that period of time, or you could write leave in the Teams chat function and then join. This will allow us to monitor our member presence. When we come to the exempt items on the agenda, members should leave this main meeting and rejoin using the invites for the exempt items. Heading to the agenda then, can we have the Southern apologies and Chair's approval of members' remote participation for the Pension Subcommittee? Tracy, have you got any apologies?
Morning, Chair. We've got 8 members present from the subcommittee. I have an apology from Councillor Adam Wilson. Not present at the start are Councillor Charteris and Councillor Scobie.
Thank you. And I approve members' participation for the Pension Subcommittee. Can we get on to the next item, which said an apology and Chair's approval for members for remote participation for the Pensions Board? Tracy.
Yes, Chair. We only have one member present, that's Councillor McKee at present. I can't see anyone else from the board that has joined the meeting, so I'll note that the board is not quoted at the start of the meeting.
Okay. Is there any reason for not going ahead then if the board is not quoted?
We can proceed with the subcommittee, Chair, but we'll just note for the minute that the board is not quoted.
Okay, thank you. Are there any declarations of interest for the Pension Subcommittee? Members? Take that as a no. And a declaration of interest for the Pensions Board. Jock, since you're the only one here, I wouldn't imagine you have any declarations of interest. Okay, thank you. Just get my paperwork up again. So we'll now move on to item number 5, which is Dumfries and Galloway Pensions Fund unaudited annual accounts, the report by Head of Finance and Procurement. This report ensures compliance with accounting regulations which state that draft accounts are submitted to members no later than 30th of June following the relevant year end. Following this meeting, the accounts will be sent to Grant Thornton, the external auditors, and Paul Garrett is available to provide more details should members require it. Paul, is there anything to add to the report?
Not really, thanks, Chair, other than just to say I'm kind of conscious that we had a seminar yesterday where members got the opportunity to get a bit more of an understanding of the process for the development of the council's accounts and the content of those. In terms of the pension fund accounts, generally with the kind of detailed consideration of the accounts is undertaken through the external audit process rather than at this stage. And I'm conscious that the accounts were just finalised at the end of last week and were issued on Friday to members. So just kind of similarly to what we did yesterday, just to say that if there's any kind of questions on the content of the accounts prior to the audit process, happy to take them. If I was to direct members to any parts of the accounts of particular interest, I would probably say the management commentary at the start of the document is the key bit. For those members that were there yesterday, they'll know we've talked a bit about the kind of statutory adjustments that make it quite difficult to interpret the formal accounts for the council in comparison to financial performance. That's less of an issue in terms of the pension fund. The accounts, particularly the fund account and the net asset statement, are consistent with information that's produced and reported to this committee for monitoring purposes during the course of the year. So there's less of an issue there with statutory adjustments. But if I was to kind of direct members in terms of areas of potential interest, it probably would be that management commentary and net asset statement and fund account. I think they're on page 57, those particular statements. But if there's any questions at all, could feel free to contact either myself or Ross in relation to that. is also reflected in the report. This now kicks off the external audit process. So the external auditors will come back to this committee in September with their report and any key issues or actions that they're bringing out as a result of their review work. So that's kind of the summary of the report, Chair, but happy to answer any questions, obviously. Okay, thanks for that. And I do agree it was very useful to have that seminar yesterday on the annual report. I think it was important, certainly for me anyway, understanding the details of that side of things. So members, have you got any questions or comments? No, well, I think that's pretty straightforward, Paul, and I think the seminar did help with members who had attended yesterday. I'll just go to the recommendations then, and members are asked to note the Pensions Fund Unaudited Annual Report and Accounts for the financial year ended 31st of March 2021, which will be submitted to the external auditors for review. We're happy to do that. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item number 6, which is a Local Government Pension Scheme Administration Annual Update. And this report provides members with an update on the administration activity carried out by the admin team in the financial year 2021. This is an annual report received by committee, and Stuart Flanagan, Human Resources Manager, is available to provide a brief overview of the report and take any questions members may have. Stuart, have you got anything to add to the report or any comments to it?
Just to say, morning Chair, thank you. You know, it's been another very busy year. I hope the report conveys some of the good work that the team are involved in and have been supporting everybody that is paying into our pension scheme. Lots of really good team working going on, and lots of good communications with both our members and our retirement pensioners as well. But happy to take any further questions.
Thanks for that. Members, any questions? I'm not seeing anything just now, Stuart, so there's only one sort of question I had, and I'll just try and find it in the paper. The maintaining a database of active members, obviously there are changes every year when people retire and new people join and things like that. Is that process now tightened up a bit? Because I can remember a couple of years ago, there was a bit of a concern that some members were missing, or somebody who had been in the pension scheme had left and then returned later on. Has that all sort of been tidied up, is it?
Yeah, it has, Chair. We have regular updates and daily updates in the system, and we're also trying to use the system to its best effect. There's a new add-on that comes with the system. It's called iConnect, and I've mentioned it within the paper. And that iConnect system is a really efficient way in which data moves from one employer to another and ensures that the system is very much up to date. That will be run on a monthly basis. We've already got it set up for all employers of the fund except for the council, but we're working on a project. That's one of our projects. So apart from sort of the normal kind of daily updates, year-end updates, we're now looking to have, you know, these additional monthly updates that provides a really good level of assurance of data quality.
Okay, thanks for that. Jim, you want to come in?
Thanks, Chair. Just a small matter of clarification. On page 17 in the appendix, the staff member ratio, Stuart, what is the significance of these figures?
Thanks, Councillor McComb. The significance, this is an historical metric that we use just to determine the number of staff to the number of records that we have. It's a fairly basic metric, but it's one that's actually used across the 11 funds in Scotland. So it's a good way that we can measure resources and capacity across all of the other 10 funds. And it tells us that, you know, for every employee that we have, then they effectively will manage, you know, X thousands of records. So that's what we use it for.
You okay with that, Jim?
So it is the number of records being managed by each member of staff.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Any other members? Okay. I think you're getting off it easy again, Stuart, as well as Paul did. So we'll go to the recommendations, members, and members are asked to note the annual report on local government pension scheme issues and administration activity for the financial year 2020-2021. Okay, thanks very much, Stuart, for that.
Thanks, Chair.
Read the recommendations. Okay, item number 7 is the pension fund update and emerging issues. This paper is a regular item which members are provided with an update on the current and emergent issues relevant to the pension fund. Members' attention is drawn to a report which has been discussed at Finance, Procurement and Transformation Committee. Paul will provide a verbal update, and officers from the pension and finance teams are here to answer any questions members may have. So, Paul, anything to add and the update?
Thanks, Chair. I was going to ask Ross to give an update just on a couple of the early items that are reflected in the report, and then after that, if it's okay, I'll come back in and discuss issues considered at the FPT committee last week, if that's all right.
Yep. Okay, Ross.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, everyone. Just a couple of verbal updates on the report, just to say that yesterday we were notified that a further £12 million has been requested by BlackRock, which will be paid over on the 28th of June. This £12 million will mean that we are at around 60% of our commitment to that fund, and Hymans and BlackRock are confident that the full 70 million will be drawn down by the end of 2021. In terms of the task force on climate-related financial disclosures, this is a new area of reporting relating to climate change. Although not mandatory for a scheme of our size currently, it's something that will be on the horizon. Officers are having discussions across the LGPS on a collaborative approach to reports that can be included on this matter. And as Paul says, I'll pass over to him for the CIC issue.
Thanks, Ross. Paul.
Thanks, Chair. So this is a matter that was considered through the Finance, Procurement and Transformation Committee last Thursday. The background to this is that one of the admitted bodies to the pension fund is CIC, Community Integrated Care, who became an admitted body in 1998 when they took on the running of the elderly care homes in Dumfries and Galloway, and 121, I think it was, of our staff transferred to CIC at that stage. So they maintained their membership of the fund, and CIC had admitted body status. However, it was identified at the last actuarial valuation that there was only 3 of those staff that transferred that were still active employees for CIC, and a potential cessation of CIC's involvement with the fund was therefore imminent if those staff had left for any reason. There's been a further development which may bring that cessation forward, but either way, there's a real prospect that CIC would no longer be an active member or an active admitted body with the fund, which would require a cessation valuation to be undertaken. The key consideration was that as things stood at the time, that cessation valuation for CIC would have to be done on a cessation basis, which was a much more prudent basis than the normal ongoing basis that is used for the triennial actual valuation. So the kind of details around this matter were considered by the FPT committee last week, and as a result of that, the committee agreed that the council would act as guarantor for the future pension liabilities of CIC. What that effectively means is that the assets and liabilities of CIC would transfer to the council at the point of cessation, which would avoid the need for the cessation valuation to be done on a cessation basis. It would also mean that the fund is fully protected because the council would take on those responsibilities. It's a positive thing, I think, for the council as well, and the report explained that actually bringing the assets and the liabilities of CIC into the council pool would actually improve slightly the council's currently assessed positions. So that decision was taken at the FPT committee last Thursday. So really the purpose of this matter is just to let members know that's the case, and to make sure members have that assurance that the fund is fully protected through that approach that's been taken. But I'm happy to answer any questions that members might have on that.
Thanks for that, Paul. Just a question for myself on assets and liabilities of CIC. I mean, obviously they're a care company, and their only assets really is their employees. Have they got any other assets that would be transferred to us under that agreement?
No, what I'm talking about here, Chair, is that specifically the pensions assets and liabilities that they have. So the assets that we're talking about is effectively their share of the pension fund. You know, the assets that were associated with those 121 staff when they moved in 1998 became attached to that, but also the contributions that they paid into the fund and the investment returns and the investment values of those over that period. Those basically are the pensions fund assets for CIC. That's what we're talking about bringing in to
it's employers' contributions.
Exactly, and the returns on them subsequently that are held in the fund to meet future liabilities. So it's not any kind of physical assets we're talking about, it's their investment assets and pension assets specifically.
Thanks for that, Jock. If you get yourself off mute, we'll be able to hear you.
Somebody's playing about with my computer. I use another switch, but there you go. The people that were in CIC were members of the pension fund when it was taken over. I take it their pension fund is frozen. Now, there's still a liability there, and are we taking that on board, albeit they've stopped their pension for however many years? And will we have a responsibility for these people as well when we take over the CIC piece, or is it just for the 3 people?
I think, just if you let me come in there, Paul, I think, Jock, we had the liability because they were part of our pension scheme anyway. We were looking after those members as part of the pension scheme. However, I'm sure Paul will answer the rest of that question.
Yep. The liability, Councillor McKee, relates to all the pension fund members under CIC. So it's the ongoing pension liabilities will be paid now by the fund, but it's part of the council pool. But as I was saying earlier, we're actually also receiving the accumulated assets that relate to CIC as part of this arrangement. And as per the recent actuarial valuation, the assessed value of those assets actually exceeds the assessed value of the future liabilities. So I think it was 111%. So we're actually taking on, or sorry, the council is taking on assets that, based on recent assessment, are 11% higher than the value of the future liabilities we're taking on.
That makes a change for us, doesn't it?
It's a snapshot in time, but I think it is a relatively positive position to be taken on. Yes.
Okay. Any other members? Thanks for that, Jock. Thanks, Paul. Any other members got any questions on that? Again, those that were in FPT will have understood that a bit more than us on the subcommittee. Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll go to the recommendations. Members, we're asked to note 2.1, the update in relation to the implementation of the agreed investment strategy as detailed at paragraphs 3.1 to 3.3. 2.2, the current and emerging issues that will impact on the pension fund as detailed at paragraphs 3.4 to 3.19. And 2.3, the further updates on these issues will be brought to future meetings of the subcommittee and board as required. Okay. Thank you very much, members. We'll move on to item number 8, which is the annual training planning record of training update. This is a standing item on the agenda with an update of the training plan. Members' attention is drawn to both appendices to this report, detailing the previous year's training plan and laying out the future year's training plan as well. All members are also reminded of the requirement to complete the pensions regulator training and intimate the officers where training is requested or required. And I'll now open the floor to any questions, comments members may have, unless, Ross, you've got anything to add to that.
Thanks, Chair. It was just as you previously said, that the Appendix 1 is the final training plan for last financial year 2021, and that members are agreed that it is and reflects the training that they undertook. And Appendix 2 is the new training plan for 21-22, which has all the training that officers are aware of. However, if there is any specific training to be included, then let us know and we can add that into the training plan going forward.
Yeah, thanks for that. I've joined a few webinars on LGC and things like that over the last year, probably about 4 or 5, if I remember properly, and they have been extremely interesting for members to join about what's happening in the pensions world, about ESG and things like that for future pensions plans. So I'm really pleased to have actually attended those. And I would suggest that members get the opportunity to attend those as well. It's not a talking part or anything like that, although you can ask questions in the sort of comments box, and they try and answer them as much as possible. But I think thanks for doing that, Ross, and telling us when these were coming up and inviting us along to them. Members, any questions? Stephen?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. No, it's good to see this laid out so we know what we've done and what we've yet to do. It was just, there have been a couple, I think, in the last few months. I'm sure there was like a Threadneedle one and a couple other ones as well, which I know we've sort of, you've maybe attended some of the similar ones actually as well as Chair, but do they actually get recorded? Because I can't actually see those marked in just now, but I think sometimes the way they're arranged, you'll let us know when they are, and then we sort of book them and then let you know that we've attended them. Is that right? Ross?
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks for that. The Threadneedle one is on Appendix 2. It is shown there on the 29th of April. However, if there are any other courses that you have attended that aren't on that training plan, just drop me an email and I will update the training plan for the next committee.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Ross. Yeah, I welcome the training plan, and I suppose my only comment would be, are these still going to be online for the foreseeable future, or are there plans afoot to try and, get a face-to-face sort of training, whether it's in the chamber or somewhere else?
As with a lot of things at the minute, Councillor, it's still up in the air. A lot of are following government guidance. So until the government guidance is clear, it's virtual, ongoing. It was thought that the LGC event that we normally attend in Edinburgh in September could be the first of the face-to-face meetings, although with a smaller attendance than normal, obviously, but it is looking for the next few months as if everything will be done virtually.
Yeah, it's just my thoughts around it. We're going to be opening up Easterbrook Hall for the full council on Thursday, so maybe there's an opportunity to even try and get a venue and maybe get some of the pension advisors to come down and give us a talk through or some kind of session. But it's something for the future. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that, John. I hear what you're saying, but obviously we're restricted to what the government guidelines are in that particular thing. So we'll hopefully, as you say, get to a couple of the training events that might come up at the end of this year. I would imagine before there's anything that we can actually attend, as Ross says, at September for the normal one that we attend in Edinburgh. Hopefully it will go forward. Paul, just on that and new members training and things like that. If there is a cost, does that come from the pension scheme or does it come from council?
if it's specifically associated with involvement in the fund and the responsibilities here, it would be an expense for the fund itself, but we do take a number of measures to try and make sure we minimise any costs. And generally, managers and advisors tend to provide, these training sessions at nil or low cost, so that the level of expenditure incurred there is fairly minimal. Just the other point in terms of the comment on the approach to training, as Ross was saying, we're quite restricted in the current period, but we are conscious that probably, particularly this time next year, following the kind of local council elections, that would be a good time to have kind of more substantial training for the committee overall, and we certainly hope that by that stage we'll be able to do that as a group with all members and advisors and board members and representatives as well in the room, because that'll be a bit more kind of detailed and a bit more involved. So certainly by that stage, certainly I would hope to be able to do that, based on a kind of physically in the room rather as virtual as at present.
Okay, thanks for that, Paul. Any other members? Okay, in that case, let's go to the recommendations, which is the members are asked to note 2.1, the final record of training and training plan for 2021. 2.2, the new record of training and training plan for 21-22, which will be subject to monitoring at subsequent meetings of the subcommittee and the board. And 2.3, that new members of the subcommittee and the board are required to complete the pensions regulator training within 3 months of joining the subcommittee board, as detailed in paragraph 3.6. Members happy with that?
Noted, Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll then go on to item 9, which is the 2020 actuarial valuation. As at 31st of March 2020, with final results update. Members were provided an overview in the funding strategy statement, FSS, and the consultation with participating employers at the March meeting of this committee. This report is seeking members' agreement to finalise the FSS, which will form part of the fund's investment arrangements for the next 3 years. Paul and Ross are available to assist members with any questions they may have. Paul, have you got anything to add to the report?
Nothing really other than to say that the funding strategy statement has previously been considered by this committee prior to the consultation, and there was no kind of substantive changes to the statement as a result of that process. So effectively it's something that members have already reviewed and considered, but there's quite a bit in it, so happy to answer any questions that members may have.
Maybe not a question, but a clarification. Obviously, with the 5th priority of the council having the climate emergency, ESG is obviously going to be important moving forward for the pension scheme, and that's been mentioned on several, pension subcommittees and things like that. And the clarification is definitely in there, and I've seen that in the report. But just to make sure members are aware of that, Paul.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, members, any questions, comments? Okay, if there is none, we'll go to the recommendations then. Members are asked to 2.1 note that the 2020 actuarial valuation report for the Dumfries and Galloway Council Pension Fund was signed off by the actuary on 31st of March 2021. And 2.2, agree the revised funding strategy statement for the Dumfries and Galloway Council Pension Fund as detailed in sections 3.5 to 3.6 of this report. Are members happy with that? Okay. Before we go on to item 10 and 11, what will happen is when we get after 11, we'll come out of this meeting and then go into the first of the exempt meetings, and can we make sure that people are in a place where they won't be interrupted, as it will be exempt. So item 10 is, I've not had any other business deemed urgent by the chair due to the need for a decision. And item 11 is Local Government Act 1973. We have to consider the adoption of resolution to exclude the public from the meeting in terms of section 50A4 and the paragraph 6 of part 1 of the schedule 7A of Local Government Scotland Act 1973. If we can agree that, we can then move to the exempt item, first item in your calendar. Okay, members, I'll give you a couple of minutes to get into that. Thank you.